Okay, welcome to the podcast, the One Student, One Book, One Author Mantra, the Global Readers Circle, the ultimate podcast designed to inspire and motivate a lifelong learner and a committed reader out of every global person. On behalf of our global community, it's my humble pleasure to introduce an amazing author, a mother, a poet, and a lover in the house. Erica Castro, good to have you.
Thank you so much.
So I remember the last time we had a recording and it was somewhat poor. And I'm sure we are going to have an amazing moment today.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like you to start by telling us about Erica Castro. Who is Erica Castro?
So I've been teaching high school English for 27 years. I'm a mother. I have three kids and two stepkids. I'm a grandmother. I have three grandkids. I've always wanted to be a writer, ever since I was little. So I kind of naturally navigated to English, but I didn't write that much. And then later on in my years, I started writing, and so yes, it's become a dream come true, writing, but teaching as well, because I did get one of my students' books published, and that's been
Wow,
just a great opportunity for him to be so young and to have a book out there. So yeah.
wow, wow, amazing, amazing. You don't just write, you help other people write. That's amazing. So I like to
I
talk about your
published.
reading. I like to talk about your reading. I like to talk about your reading. When did you
Okay.
find your long love for books? When did you become this intentional reader who would shut off the TV just to have a devouring of great writes?
Well, okay, so for me, I wasn't really a reader. I became an English major because of the writing. Obviously, clearly, if I was going to do the work in my college classes, I had to read. But it wasn't something that was like something that was part of me. Later
Yeah.
on, when I was into self-growth and self-development, I came across a quote from Jim Rohn who said, "People who do not read are equal to those who cannot read. Because what is the
Mm,
point in having the skill and not using it?" I did
mm,
read like to teach, like the work that I needed to do for my work, but I didn't read. And so that's when I kind of started reading a lot of books. And you never know when you need the things that you've read. It's almost like our brains have a bunch of file cabinets, and
yeah,
sometimes you may be going through something and then you remember something that you read, and it's like, okay, this is why I have to do this because this is what I read in that book. And so you never know when you need that information, or you can have somebody come up to you and say, you know what, I'm having this problem, I'm having this issue, but because
yeah,
you've read, you can say, oh, well, maybe you can consider doing this or doing that, or maybe you could read this book. So
yeah.
yeah, it was later on that reading became a big part of my life after
Wow,
college. Yeah. Hmm.
wow, amazing, amazing. Erica Castro, well, we get to this point in the show where I'd like you to talk about your journey into authorhood. What prompted, what inspired, what ignited your decision to take on the discipline to publish a book? When did you first have your publications?
So I started off with book collaborations, and book collaborations are a book that's published, but it has many authors. And
Yeah,
I'm one of those
anthologist.
people, yeah, kind of like an anthology, but I I started there where, for example, my first was it was called A Life to Thrive, and there was 10 authors, and all of us had attempted suicide. And so it was our journey from attempting suicide and then getting ourselves into a healthier mental space and giving advice to others who struggle with these types of issues. And so that was the first one. And then I wrote in this other book collaboration called Badass Within. And I wrote about my mom died when I was 5. So it was like the
Whoa.
journey I had to endure so that I could still overcome, but I had to do it, with the absence of my mother. And then
Mm,
I wrote this other one, and this one was heavy and hard. It was a book collaboration, Transforming Growth series, and there was 7 topics, and they were all very heavy topics, and it's like almost like a memoir. Um, I am 10 years sober, so it chronicled my alcoholism. It
mm,
chronicled sexual assault, infidelity.
mm,
It chronicled depression, anxiety. Um,
mm.
it chronicled all these things that happened to me, um, and how I made peace with it and how I kind of healed from it. And I think I write about those things because somebody out there needs to hear the story. Somebody out there needs to hear that. I did write also about my suicide attempt. And so somebody out there needs to hear that they're not alone.
Yeah,
And so,
they're
yeah,
not
so that,
alone.
hmm and then after that, I wrote a self-help book about death, like trying to find creating peace through the grieving process.
Mm,
Because I had a lot of death in my life, and then the second it came out together, these 2 books came out together, was um, The Pain Left Behind,
yeah.
Surviving a Suicide Loss, a collection of poems. And it kind of chronicles my
Mhm.
grief and dealing with the loss of my loved one. Yeah.
Wow. I'm really sorry about your loss. And the good thing is you decided to share your story just so people who are grieving or
Yeah.
who will be dealing with grieving can always know that they're not alone. Thank you very much, Erica Castro. Thank you. You did a thing. Wow, amazing. I like to talk to you about your student. Your student. I remember trying to reach you on countless occasions, and you're always like, I'm in class. I'm in class.
Yeah.
I'm in class. I like you to tell me how you foster the relationship. How do you help to foster the relationship between your student and the books? How do you help them to read? Aside that, I know you love helping other people.
So this year, last year, I was one of the things that because I published, and I really pushed the students to submit their work so that they can publish out there. It was really important.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get a couple of kids published in other anthologies and things like that. And I
Wow.
also put a book together for the school, called Oracle Spartan Voices. And it's on Amazon. And when I
Wow.
did that, I had awareness of so much, how much students are struggling with mental health. And the
Yeah.
thing about it is that they keep it a secret. Like they come into class and they're fine and they seem fine. And my student's book also, In Solace, by Adrian Fuerte Campos, his book chronicles mental health as well. And so
Whoa.
this year, I made an intention. Every time I come to work really early. I make an intention of what part of mental health do I want to include in my lesson. And so right now we're going through the whole thing of anxiety.
Yeah.
Today I had them describe an anxiety monster, and if the anxiety was speaking, what would it say? And
Yeah.
so I so that's what we're working on right now. But today I also told them that we have this program called Reading Plus that really helps them build their fluency and helps them just develop reading. But I also give them the option. I said, you have a choice. You can do the Reading Plus program, or because a lot of kids have the love of reading, so I don't want to just constrict them. So I told them, you guys can choose a 12th grade level book, and it's going to have some assignments attached to it, or you could do Reading Plus. And I told them,
Wow.
again, people who do not read are equal to those that cannot read. And no matter what you do, you need to be able to read and write. Those are the two
Well,
most important. I know math is important, but some people, like in my case, I'm an English teacher. I don't really need math other than, bank accounts or whatever, trying to keep balance or whatever. But
to balance the taxes.
right.
Hmm.
So everybody, no matter what you do, you need reading, you need
Yeah.
writing, and I was telling them it's so important for you guys to read. And there's studies that have shown that reading really helps with mental health. And so
Hmm.
that's why it's been a commitment of mine for them to write every day and read every day. Write every day, read every
Wow.
day.
Wow.
Even if different lessons or whatever, because it's so important for them to know that they can be emotionally healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They can be emotionally healthy. Erica Castro, you got me on this. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a mother and thank you for being a teacher.
Thank you.
So I like to talk to our audience. If you are streaming this, we've been on to Erica Castro. Erica Castro will pass for a teacher, a mother, an author, and a poet.
Mhm.
And if you're going to be streaming this further, which I oblige you to stream to the end, she's going to be reading from her poetry, and she's also going to be taking our 10 books challenge. And I'm sure you can afford to miss this one. Erica Castro, good to have you on the One Student, One Book, One Author mantra. Well, we believe that one student who is credible enough to read a book and one author who is also disciplined enough to write a book can solve a whole lot of problems for humanity. And I'd like you to share your thoughts, your significant thoughts about reading as a person. What do you imagine? What do you think your life would have been if you were not this avid and elliptical reader?
So I have a story, and it's a crazy story, but it's the truth. One of the most important skills that a person can have is to control their emotions and rage. And for me, I was in a really, really bad relationship, and I was leaving work. And sometimes when you have those crazy emotions and you have all that rage, you have crazy thoughts. You have crazy thoughts. And I remember
Yeah,
I'm driving home, and my thoughts were really out of control, and I'm like wanting to, but really wanting to kill this person that I was with. And I'm driving, and luckily I live far from where I work. And then I remembered this book I read called Codependent No More. And it was about
hmm,
this woman who, it was her story. It was about this woman who lost control and was chasing her husband around the house with a knife in front of the kids. And
yeah,
when I remembered that, my thoughts stopped, and I made a
hmm,
conscious decision to not go home. Like I get off at 4 o'clock, and so I didn't go home till about 9 o'clock. At that point, I was already calm. I was already in I was okay. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you said to me right now, how different would your life be had I not read? I would
yeah,
probably be in jail or something, because the emotions and the anger and everything I had inside me were like physically, I wanted to go over there and do something crazy. But because I read that
hmm,
story, I read it and it came to my mind, and I remembered and I pictured that scene in my head. I made
hmm.
the wiser choice of not creating any more chaos. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. I love the fact that you share your own personal testimonies from some of the amazing books you've read. And I like to ask, have you been privileged to meet an author in person? I mean, in real life?
Me? Well, I have a lot of my friends are authors. I publish
Wow.
books. I published my friend's book, Lily of the Valley, by Rosalilia M. Mendoza. I'm a part of this poetry community. As a matter of
Mm,
fact, we're gonna go perform in up north in Fresno, California, the four of us, and all of us have published books. All my friends, it's
mm.
through Infinite Poets. And so, yeah, no, I know a lot of people who have published, and I have a lot of friends that are authors and poets. So, yeah,
Wow,
you have to have community. It's so
wow.
important to have community because having people around you who are your cheerleaders
For
are
your
gonna,
sanity.
yeah,
Uh,
they're gonna propel you forward. You know,
yeah,
community.
yeah. Wow, amazing, amazing. Wow. We get to the point of the show where author Erika Castro will be taking us into our bookshelves. She'll be taking us into our archives, the books that would probably stay with her. But before she takes the challenge, Erika Castro, I'd like you to read from your poetry.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
like you to read from one of your masterpieces. And I'm sure that you're going to enjoy this devouring.
So I decided I'm gonna read this one about my dad, um, because my dad was very unique, and it's called
Yeah.
My Father's Eccentricities. My father was full of life. He was passionate about his Lakers. He once threatened us to never wear his shirts when the Lakers lost to the Bulls. He would always say, Siempre contra mí. That meant we were always against him. He was so angry that we were laughing when his Lakers lost against Michael Jordan. My father was vocal. He was a take it or leave it type man. And he said that what was on his mind. He did not trust people, but was a great judge of character. He would say, she is not a good friend, or he would tell my brother, no te juntes con ese cabrón. And he was always right. Our friends would betray us, or they would get us in trouble, or they were bad influences. My father was not embarrassed. My sister and I were both in high school. We were on the bottom floor at the mall, and all of a sudden from the top floor there was this man yelling, almost crazily, Jessica, Erica, disregarding that there were people around, to let us know it was time to go. My sister and I pretended it was not us, and we looked around and kept walking, till we nonchalantly went to meet him in the second floor. He was furious. Why did you not respond when I called? Our high school friend saw? I don't give a hoot about your friends. He would drop us off in his dilapidated Chevy truck. The door was held closed with a hook, and without fail, as we got off, he would scream, as if on purpose, Dios les bendiga, and we would get embarrassed. He is long gone now, but those moments bring me laughter today. It was his way of showing love, his way of saying, those are my daughters, and with so much
Mm,
adoration, I am their father. The things we often fail to see as teenagers, fathers who scream or send a blessing, are just showing love.
mm,
No need to be embarrassed. Had we known then what we know now, we could have stood proud and said, yes, that man screaming is my father.
mm. That man screaming could have been my father. Erica Castro, relatable. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your masterpiece with our global audience. You're
Thank you.
such a sweetheart.
Thank you so much.
Wow, if you're streaming this on the One Student, One Book, One Author mantra, we had a huge fat guest in the house, Erica Castro. Well, we just enjoy our poetry. Remember, if you're going to be streaming this, don't forget to share this episode with your friends. And lest we forget, Erica Castro, how do we get to find your book? How do we get to build a rapport with you? Are you open for
um,
mentorship? Are you going to help kids from Asia and Africa publish their books? What kind of
I,
help
I
are you going to
can.
render for your reading
Um,
audience?
you can email me at daxson, DAXSON, publishing.com, at gmail.com. Daxon, DAXSON, publishing at gmail.com. Yeah, I'm open to helping whoever needs help. If things work out, I'm trying to help people publish their stuff. So you can email me there. In Solace, by Adrian Fortecampos. I published. It's on Amazon, and so is Lily of the Valley. The other ones are going to be up in Amazon in about 2 months. So you could search our names, Erica Castro, for the authors. So yes,
When when you say the other ones, we are expecting a new release.
oh
What would the
yeah,
title be? Who would be
I
the your target audience? Is it another poetry?
yeah, I my next book is called My Silent Voice Unleashed. It's already written. I
Hmm.
just have to get it ready to publish. So yeah. And it really talks about like my childhood and like all the struggles that I went through, and then also, my relationships, things like that. And navigating life, the difficulties of navigating life. And so yeah, that book is coming out. I don't know, like I don't have a date yet, but it's already written. I just have to get it ready to publish. So that one's coming out. And yeah, I publish a lot of poetry. I am publishing a book. It's going to be an anthology. There's going to be about 10 authors, and it's called When Divorce is the Answer. Um, be-
Hmm.
because so many people, we're indoctrinated to believe that we have to stay in our marriages. And I'm not against marriage, don't get me wrong, but sometimes
Yeah.
when you're in a really bad, verbal, physical abuse, all that, sometimes you need
Hmm.
to find your way out of it, because then you can't let anything good come into your life. It's almost like in order for you to have something beautiful and new to come in, you've got to let go of the old.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
stuck. And so yeah, I'm going to publish that. I already have the author, so we're working on that right now, to publish probably next March, and it's called When Divorce is the Answer. Yeah. So, yeah.
When divorce is the answer. So
Yeah.
somebody has to leave to cleave.
It's just that, and sometimes toxic patterns are too toxic, and
Hmm.
there really isn't, there's too much damage, too much hurt, and no matter what you do, it's impossible to heal, because the patterns are there. As much as you want to change, you don't want this to be, you're so used to treating each other in such a toxic way, those patterns are very difficult to break. And so sometimes the best thing is to cut your losses and move on. And I heard a beautiful quote that I saw on Instagram, and it talked about, if you want to know how much you love yourself, look at your partner and how he treats you.
Hmm.
And so that's very profound, because if you're in a bad relationship, that means that you need to heal yourself and love yourself enough so that you don't accept unacceptable behavior. So
Hmm. Hmm. That's true. That's
yeah.
true. Wow, amazing. Well, we did on the part of the show where also Erica Castro will be naming 10 books, 10 amazing reads that you would love to reread, 10 amazing authors that you would love to meet, 10 amazing recommendations that she would love you to have an interest on. Well, Erica Castro, I'm sure you're willing to take this challenge.
Yes, I am, and I'm ready. Okay, so the first book that is a game changer is Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And I actually teach the 7 decisions of success to my students. We don't read the book, but we read the 7 decisions of success. And it's so helpful because it really puts everything in perspective. If you want to succeed, this is what you got to do. The next one is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And it's crazy
Mm,
because I love that book, because if you think big, but really think big and believe that it's possible, things start happening in your life that you didn't expect. If you had told me 2 years ago that I would be publishing books, I'd be like, you're crazy. But I personally got
mm,
rejected twice by publishing companies for 2 of my manuscripts. And then it was like, well, you know
mm,
what? I'm going to do it myself. And so, see,
mm,
that rejection was necessary. I needed to be
mm,
rejected so that I can help others publish my stuff. And so
mm,
sometimes we think rejection is a bad thing, but sometimes it's a gift, and it's
mm,
preparing you for something greater. The next book for me is The Great Gatsby by Fitzgerald. I love that book. I teach that book. Um, It's an amazing book, and it's really well written. I love the language and the metaphors and the symbols in the whole book. It's one of my favorite books. The next one is
Mm,
Into the Wild by John Krakauer. And that book is such a powerful book because it's a true story about this guy who divorced his parents and took off to Alaska, and sadly, he passed away. But the most powerful part
mm,
about that book is that, you have to be, as a parent, honest with your children. And a lot of times
mm,
parents think that they're protecting the kids by not telling them the whole truth, but children are resilient and they're smart. And it's important. See, trust issues start when parents lie. And
mm,
so if we want our children to be whole, based on their ages, we need to tell them the truth.
mm,
The next book is Night by Eli Wiesel. And the reason why, a lot of my writing and a lot of my poetry is very real and raw. And I think it's important for students to know that this is a true story. This happened. It's about a 13-year-old who survived the Holocaust and his journey. And even though it's hard to read because of everything that's happening, the deaths, the bodies, everything, this happened. This is real. This is not a fake story. This is somebody's life. And so I think it's
mm.
important because a lot of times these students and stuff are entitled and they don't know this is what teaches compassion and humanity. So it's important to teach. The next book is A Movable Feast by Ernest
Wow,
Hemingway. It's his
Erica
it was his attempt.
Castro. Erica Castro. You have five more to go. And I'm really
Yes.
enjoying this session. I'm engrossed.
Thank you. So A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway was Ernest Hemingway's attempt to a memoir. Um, and there's a part in there that's so touching to me because he talks about his first wife, and he talks about how he wished how he wished he would have died before loving anybody else because he really hurt his first wife. And the reason I love that book is because it has a real clear explanation of what happens with infidelity. And so what happened in that case is that they had a family friend, a mutual friend, and Hemingway was cheating with the friend. And one of the things that he says is that nobody really wins, that you end up carrying this guilt and you end up losing so much.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's such a powerful, it gives a really good explanation as to why it happens. And it just, even though it
yeah,
has a lot of different parts in it, I was really touched by that one. The next one is
yeah,
called Phasing Freely. It's a poetry book by Tyler Len Bradley. And I love this one because it's about mental health. And I think that a lot of times we don't really focus and talk about mental health. And
yeah.
it really takes you into their mind and journey, and it makes you feel like you're not alone. Another one is
Mm,
A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest Gaines. I love this book. I teach this book. I've taught it. I haven't taught it recently, but I love this book because um, it paints a picture of how change is possible. So a lot of
mm,
times people look at people, like, for example, in this particular case, um, the teacher goes and helps this guy Jefferson, who is barely illiterate, and helps him deal with the
yeah,
fact that he's going to die on death row.
yeah,
And so it's like not giving up, not giving
yeah,
up on the marginalized, not giving up on the people who need to be at least supportive. And at the end, he makes this
yeah.
transformation and he changes. And it's such a beautiful book. The next one that really has really touched me and impacted me is Lily of the Valleys. I actually published that book. The reason why that book is so powerful is because it talks about activism, but it also talks about how, um, as from Mexico, being from Mexico, how we're constantly being, um, our culture has been kind of taken from us as well as like our land has. And so it talks about those things in her
Yeah,
poetry and how
yeah,
you don't know who you are. You're from the
yeah,
US, but you're from Mexico, but then you lose your roots and now you're being a culture side. And then so it's just like this big,
yeah,
identity
yeah,
identity battle.
yeah.
And so and last
Wow. Wait. just one book to go. We just one book to go. We
Mm-hmm.
just one book to go.
Yep.
Erica Castro, you got this. You got this.
So then the last book is Dreaming Under Polka Dot Stars. It's a poetry book, and it's about um, my my friend who's African American and how he grew up, and the like it's very it talks about just the journey of growing up with a single mother and then having to be going to his father's, and then he talks about his time in Texas. And so it's just really the reason I like this poetry book is because he has a talent of painting a specific scene so well,
Mm,
because
mm.
it takes you to that place where he's at. And so he's one of my favorite poets, and it's Dreaming Under Polka Dot Stars by Best Kept Corey Kofer. So yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Amazing, Erica Castro. I feel so humbled. I feel so humbled to have a fine mind and an amazing mind like you on the spotlight.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
So I like to ask you for our audience globally. I like to ask you, what advice would you give to this person who doesn't read?
Any problem that anybody has, I don't care what it is, the answers are in the books. It's search and you will find, seek and you will find. And it could be about any topic, any problem, anything that you're experiencing, anything that you're going through. The answers are in the books, because you know somebody in the history in the past has suffered what you're suffering right now. So the answer, whatever
Sure.
it is that you're looking for, are in the books.
Their answers are in the books you are yet to read.
Yeah.
And also, you're lucky to meet authors like Erica Castro. Trust me, she will take you by your hands. Wow, Erica Castro, I feel very humbled on behalf of our global community to have an amazing and fine mind like you on our book show spotlight tonight. And on behalf of the creative and all the readers globally, I must confess, you are one big asset.
Thank
You're an asset so far as humanity is concerned.
thank you so much.
Okay, before we let you go, what advice, what would be your last words to the downtrodden? What will be your last word to someone who is going through a divorce right now? What would be your last words, your advice to someone who is yet to carve a niche for themselves? What would you say to that lad who doesn't know when his next meal come? Give us the last words, author Erica Castro.
Well, for the person who's going through the divorce, I want to say you don't know how beautiful your life could be if you would just let go. Because in order for
Mm,
something good to come in, you have to let go of the thing that doesn't work anymore.
yeah,
And for those people that are struggling, you can't give up hope, because there is hope and things are going to get better. You just have to work towards them and take action. You got to take action. One of the things that people do is that they think about taking action, but they never take action. And I know it's
yeah,
hard, but you gotta, we're all gonna fail, we're all gonna fall, but you gotta get up. You gotta get up, because
yeah,
there's always something better coming. Well, I'm
yeah,
gonna share this that because I went through a divorce, and you struggle financially and stuff, and I would always say into
yeah,
my brain, when I would struggle financially, when I didn't have any money, I would say, it's okay, because in 2 years I'm gonna cash my 2 million. So I
mm,
would shift. I would shift it. I wouldn't think, oh, poor me, I don't have this, I don't have that. And be like, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry.
yeah,
Let's just get through this. Let's just get through this right now, and I'm gonna
yeah,
cash in later. And so, I mean,
yeah,
it's building that strength and that resilience. And I promise you, if you keep trying
mm,
and you keep working and you keep moving towards, healing and moving towards, achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve, it's going to happen, but you can't quit. You got to keep going. So,
mm,
yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. If you're streaming this, we've been on to Erica Castro on the One Student, One Book, One Author Mantra, the Global Reader Circle, your ultimate podcast designed to inspire and motivate you to imbibe the reading culture. And obviously, Erica Castro has been a tall guest. She's been so amazing. I've been personally very engrossed. And I'm sure that you're going to enjoy this episode. Don't forget that we are going to add a book link on our podcast note. So this leaves you with a privilege and opportunity to meet Erica Castro. And please don't forget, you need to share that link. You need to tell your friends about Erica Castro. And don't forget, she'll be part of our festivity of our Zoom meet and greet, our Global Reader Circle. And I'm pretty sure that Erica Castro will be waiting on the other side to help you, give you helping hands, and make you that reader you need. Thank you very much, Erica
Yeah.
Castro. Thank you very much. I am very humbled. I feel so humbled to have a fine man like you.
Thank you
I'm
very
very
much.
humbled. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless
Thank
you too.
you. Wow. With this, we come to the end of the show on the occasion of One Student, One Book, One Author Mantra, the Global Reader Circle. We had Erica Castro in the building. And trust me, you're going to enjoy this episode. Don't forget to share the link and don't forget to engage on our special hashtags. It has been your host, Smart Stewart Udo, on behalf of our global community. Thank you very much, Erica Castro.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.